Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're uncovering how a seemingly traditional set of standards is actually the absolute key to surviving modern business chaos. I know, when you hear the words ISO 9000, you're probably picturing endless compliance checklists or some dusty binders sitting on a corporate shelf somewhere. But we are going to completely flip that script. We're diving directly into the source material to uncover why this framework is a literal survival guide for any organization operating today, and exactly why ISO 9000 matters right now. Think about your own company for a second. How do you actually survive, let alone thrive, when the ground underneath you is constantly shifting? It's a massive challenge, right? Because in business today, standing still is basically moving backward. The environment we're operating in isn't just changing, the rate of that change is accelerating every single day. So, what's the secret to not just treading water, but navigating these rapids with actual confidence? Well, look, we've totally moved away from the predictable, pendulum-swinging markets of recent decades. Today's environment is profoundly different. It's honestly more like strapping a rocket to the globe. We're dealing with wildly accelerated change, rapid market globalization, and knowledge becoming this incredibly crucial principal resource. And on top of that, society is way better educated and significantly more demanding. You can't just throw a decent product out there and expect to coast anymore. The world standards have fundamentally been raised. To navigate this hyper-demanding landscape, we're turning straight to the definitive source, the ISO 9000-2015 Fundamentals and Vocabulary Standard. Now, I know that sounds highly technical, but what's actually contained inside reveals a surprisingly dynamic framework for organizational survival. It gives organizations the capacity to meet these modern challenges head-on by providing a totally new way of thinking about how a business should function as a cohesive whole. Let's dive right into Section 1, redefining true quality today. We need to fundamentally change how we think about that word. So, the crucial point here is that quality is no longer just about a product working correctly. If you build a toaster and it successfully toasts bread, well, that's not the finish line anymore. According to the standard, quality obviously includes the intended function and performance, sure, but it also heavily weighs perceived value, the actual benefit to the customer, and the impact, both intended and unintended, on all relevant interested parties. It is a massive, truly holistic shift in perspective. And who exactly are these interested parties? Well, the text makes it crystal clear that this concept extends way beyond just your paying customers. These interested parties represent the entire ecosystem you rely on. We're talking providers, partners, investors, employees, and honestly, even society as a whole. Why do they matter so much? Because as the source strictly points out, if their needs and expectations aren't met, they become a significant risk to your organizational sustainability. Simply put, ignoring these peripheral groups is a real operational risk. They are the ecosystem keeping your organization's heart beating. Which brings us to a really fascinating concept, Section 2, the living social organism. The standard completely redefines the very nature of a business itself. Take a second to absorb this quote, straight from the official text. Your organization is not a rigid, metallic machine where you just pull a lever and gears turn. No, it is a living, breathing, learning social organism. Just like humans, organizations have to be adaptive to their varying contexts. They must have this inherent ability to change and react to external stimuli. If your company is indeed a living organism, then the Quality Management System, or QMS, is its central nervous system. It's pretty incredible to think of a corporate framework as a biological entity, isn't it? But the source describes a QMS as something that manages all these interacting processes and resources to provide value. It helps this living organism safely react, adapt to external complexities, and optimize its resources. It's basically the neural network that senses a shift in the market and sends the exact signals required to adapt and survive. So let's see how this builds into essential evolutionary traits. Section 3, 7 Principles of Survival. Here we have the 7 fundamental quality management principles outlined in the standard, and they essentially act as evolutionary traits ensuring your organization doesn't go extinct. We've got customer focus, leadership, engagement of people, process approach, improvement, evidence-based decision-making, and relationship management. Now, no single principle is universally more important than another. Instead, finding the right balance among them at any given time is the real key to sustained success. Let's zoom in on a few of the most impactful ones. We're going to start with customer focus. Why? Well, because sustained success is literally only achieved when you attract and retain the confidence of those you serve. This principle emphasizes recognizing both direct and indirect customers. It's about understanding not just what they need right this second, but actually anticipating their future needs. Every single interaction is an opportunity to create more value, build loyalty, and essentially guarantee your continued success. Another absolutely vital evolutionary trait is evidence-based decision-making. As you know, making business decisions is a complex, often tangled process that always has some level of uncertainty. And man, it is incredibly easy to fall into the trap of subjective interpretation. This principle acts as the scissors cutting through all that noise. It demands reliance on objective data, hard facts, and rigorous data analysis rather than just going with your subjective gut feelings. This is exactly how you optimize operations and prevent unintended, potentially disastrous consequences. And then we have this brilliant concept of the process approach. The source explicitly notes that consistent, predictable results are achieved much more effectively when activities are managed as interrelated processes. It ensures all parts of the organism are working together smoothly, rather than fighting against each other in isolated, cross-functional silos. When you actually understand how results are produced by this interconnected system, you can truly optimize its performance. Okay, so how do we actually build this internal nervous system without drowning in unnecessary paperwork? Section 4. Building your dynamic system. There's a major misconception we really need to clear up right now. The source explicitly emphasizes that a formal QMS does not need to be some complicated bureaucratic nightmare. Actually, scratch that. It shouldn't be. It just needs to be flexible, adaptable, and perfectly tailored to accurately reflect your specific unique environment. The standard fully recognizes that you can't predetermine every single activity. Your system has to be dynamic enough to handle the sheer complexities of your exact organizational context. Developing this system is an ongoing evolution. I mean, every organization already has quality management activities happening, whether you've formally planned them out or not. But to formalize it, the framework gives us 4 continuous, rhythmic steps. First up, planning the activities. Next, executing them, then monitoring the results, and finally, relentlessly improving. By constantly cycling through these 4 steps, your organization continually learns, adapts, and innovates, locking in its long-term survival. I'm going to leave you with a final, highly provocative thought to ponder today. Take a close look at your own workplace. When you consider how decisions are made, how processes interact, and how you view quality, are you trapped inside a static, rigid machine just waiting to become obsolete? Or are you growing, adapting, and thriving within a living, learning, social organism? The survival of your modern business might just depend entirely on your answer. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.